Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and today I'm going to be trying out Toki Tori. Now, I say trying out kind of loosely because, again, this is one of those games that I've actually played for a significant amount of time. About an hour, hour and a half at this point. So, Toki Tori is an indie puzzle platformer made by Two Tribes Entertainment. I think they're Swedish, or like Swiss or something, which I'm generally not used to European publishers. But with indie games especially, it's nothing new. Though, let's pick a level. Let's pick this one at random. So, this one's a bit of an odd chicken, if you go with the theme, because this game was actually originally made for the Game Boy Color. Now, looking at it, you wouldn't expect that, because, well, the main character is 3D, which would be unthinkable for the Game Boy Color, and the backgrounds are, you know, not 8-bit, or 16-bit? I think the Game Boy went up to 16-bit. I'm not very good with my technology. But this game has, I believe, been remade several different times. So what you're seeing is pretty much the old Game Boy Color version with a extremely new layer of paint, a new soundtrack, and some new features. So currently I'm just playing through an easy level, but this game's actually split up into 4 different worlds. Here, I might as well just zoom out to the level select screen. So, there's the Forest Falls, Creepy Castle, Slimy Sewer, Test Barrage, and there's also Test Lab, which is not actually a world, it's just a repository of user-created content. There's even a level editor on the base level of the menu that you can mess around with. I'm also going to take a quick look at options, because there's not much there. There's music, sound effects, visual effects, rumble, which I don't think I've ever even encountered, full screen, controls, and credits. Nothing particularly meaningful. So, I'm going to jump back into the forest level for one more thing, but each level introduces a couple new power sets, so you can gotta remember. There are 2 eggs here, and if you pick the wrong one, you have to start over from the beginning. So, I didn't point it out, but, so you got the bottom bar, which should be kind of obvious. Number 1 is lay down platform. Number 2 is teleport, which I used in the previous one. And number 3 is frost gun. Number 4 is move block, and number 5 is create block. And there's a 6th power that you get on the last level, Bubble Garage, but we will not be getting there today because I have not gotten that far in this game, and I pretty much have to beat the game to get there. But I have enough to show off pretty much what you can all do in this game. So, one thing I haven't gone into, actually, is how you play the game. So, you've got left, right, you can go up and down if there's a ladder available, but pretty much that's it. The only other buttons you have available are A, which I use to create that platform over there, the right stick, which lets you pan the camera around to kind of plan out your moves, and then X, which you can use to zoom back and forward in time, much like Braid, which is a neat feature. I was kind of hoping I could show off the frost gun, but I guess maybe I'll get to do that later on. Now, the frost gun is only available in Forest Falls, so in Creepy Castle, let's do this level. In Creepy Castle, you get Ghost Trap. I think this is the introductory level for Ghost Trap. But what Ghost Trap does is you lay it on a brick part like this, and it sparkles. But, oh, okay, I'm safe, because the ghost, for whatever mystical reason, cannot go through eggs. But I'm just going to kind of wait patiently as the ghost shows off the Ghost Trap ability for me. But more or less, if Ghost walks over it, the ghost will then fall through, removing the block and letting you pass. So you pretty much use it to get rid of the ghost, but mostly just to get from point A to point B. That's really what most of the abilities available to you are. They're just tools to get from point A to point B. So let's go to this level. I like this level. So in a lot of the levels, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a number underneath the power, and that's how many times you can actually use the power before you run out of it. So in this one, I can lay down 5 platforms and move 5 blocks. but that means you mostly just have to kind of plan out your moves, and you can't do anything unnecessary because there is no wiggle room. You don't have, a couple extra platforms that you can lay down willy-nilly if you want. Once you lay it down, you're pretty much set in, and you have to go back in time to get it back. Which, again, not that big of a deal, but one of my biggest complaints with this game is that each puzzle is pretty much playable once, and then you know how to do it, and you're really never interested in doing it again. I said I liked this puzzle, and that's because it threw me for a loop for a grand total of, like, maybe 10 minutes, which a lot of the puzzles are unique enough to throw me for a loop, but once I've completed them, there's no difficulty going back and just redoing what you already know how to do. But I think that's more endemic to puzzle platformer games as a whole than specifically this game being poorly designed, because if anything, it's over-design that leads to the lack of replayability. So now I'm going to go on to the Slimey Sewer, which is a little bit harder. First couple levels feel more like a tutorial in each world. So in this one, this is kind of a tutorial on how to use the number 3 ability, which was Frost Gun, and then Ghost Trap, but in this one, it's Slug Suck. Now, the way Slug Suck works is you can tap it once to turn a slug you're facing around. So I can use it to turn it around there. But now it's chasing me, so I'm gonna get down here. But in that case, you use Slug Suck to turn the slug around so you can more or less get in front of it as it passes over you in the ladder, because for whatever mystical reason, slugs will not fall down ladders, which I'm thankful for, and I'm gonna die. Nope, I'm not gonna die. Sweet. Oh, I did make a mistake though. I'm not supposed to go down here yet, because I'm actually supposed to go... I'm on time. Okay, I'm actually supposed to go across here. Anyway, so Slug Select, you can tap it once to turn a slug around, or you can press and hold it down to suck up the slug. Now, when you tap it, it doesn't actually use up a charge for the slug sucker, so you can use it more often. But as soon as you've sucked up that slug, that charge is used, and hopefully you used it for a good purpose, because otherwise you're not getting it back, unless you go back in time, which is awesome. Now, the last power I'm going to show off here, and just kind of the next level, is the block creation, which is pretty simple. It's much like block moving, except for instead of just moving the block, you create one out of thin air. So this bird is a wizard. That'd actually be really cool if you could get a wizard patch for this bird. I want that feature. I hope they have that in the sequel, because this game does actually have a sequel, which, again, is... Oh, mess this one up. Which is pretty impressive for... Nope. For a game that started as a Game Boy Color game. And, I mean, looking at it and listening to it, this game is on par with pretty much any other puzzle platformer I've played in the, pretty much in the existence of indie games. I've played a lot of indie games, and you know what? Most of them feel like they were rushed or made by like a couple of people, but this has a really high production quality, which really impressed me. Like, I'm gonna see if the forest... No, the castle levels have it, but you see the moon in the background. I'm really impressed by that moon. So I'm gonna move on to a hard level and work on solving it as I kind of finish up. But the hard levels are just a little bit harder. But I think I'm going to be... Oh dear. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. Not this level. I tried this level last time, and it did not work out so well. So, like I mentioned... this game has really high, production quality. The loading screens are really pretty. The backgrounds are really nice. I kind of wish maybe the water on the grass actually moved, but again, that's kind of a niggling little detail. The 3D modeling is really impressive. Toki Tori himself doesn't feel like a pixelated mess, or a polygonal mess either. The monsters actually kind of have this nice shuffle to them, and, look pretty unique too. And sweet Jesus, this level looks kind of scary. So, let's wing it. So, I winged that in the worst way possible. I will admit, I kind of wish you could just, like, zoom back in time as soon as you make the mistake, instead of it making you watch as Toki Tori inevitably falls to his death. But again, not that big of a deal. So, I would recommend this to anybody who's into indie puzzle platformers. It's pretty. It's got a really fun soundtrack that isn't terribly repetitive. I mean, pretty much it's one song per world, but I'm only noticing that specific aspect now, which I really dig. So, despite this game's couple of, small issues, I would recommend it to anybody that's into puzzle platformers or just puzzle games in general, because there's a whole lot of platforming as part of it. It's mostly just go from point A to point B. You don't have to worry about controlled jumps or anything like that, which is, pretty relaxing. You mostly just have to plan, which is kind of an interesting thing, because most puzzle platformers require a fair amount of actual platforming as opposed to the platforming just being another puzzle mechanic. So, again, I would recommend this to anybody who likes this sort of thing, and I'd be willing to bet a fair number of you actually already own this game from Humble Bundles, because I believe it was in at least one of them fairly recently, and it was one of the bigger ones too. So if you already own it, I'd recommend installing it and trying it out, and if you don't own it, and this sort of thing appeals to you, I would strongly recommend picking it up, because it is a lot of fun. The graphics are great, the visuals are nice, the gameplay itself is stimulating, and it's actually worth it as far as like a content to money ratio goes. So, this has been Wanderbot, really enjoying Toki Tori, and I hope you guys had a fair amount of insight into how this game goes. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit like, comment, or subscribe. It really helps me out, and it really makes me want to do more of these. And I will be doing more of these, a lot more of these. So, I'll see you guys on the next Indie Impressions, Let's Try, whatever you want to call it. See you then.